So if you have any, just let us know, we can bump it up, all right? And I'm going to start. My name is Rebecca Hamm, and I want to welcome everybody here to celebrate this amazing. These fabulous, fabulous artists, all 5 of them. Did we get it to work? Oh. Brilliant, thank you. Now you get to tell us if we're too loud. Okay, this is
No,
good.
don't tell women we're too loud.
The sound system's a little too loud. All right, so I wanted to welcome you all, and I just have the honor of introducing you to all of these fabulous artists and a little more insight into the exhibition that is installed in these beautiful spaces. And I also want to say, just on behalf of everybody here, thank you to the Chaffey Community Museum of Art for always having extraordinary programming and bringing our community together like this. This is really powerful. So bravo. Yay. Okay, so we've been into our time a little bit already, so I'm going to jump right in. And I have the pleasure of introducing Cj. And I wrote a few notes because there's so much to say, and I don't know how to do it less than an hour. I've been saying that, but this fabulous visionary is a powerful artist, as you may already know. And I found out that you grew up in Chicago, and you were immersed early in your love of ceramics and travel and the natural world. And I'm going to be checking my notes just to stay on track for these fabulous people up here. Cj, you got your BA in ceramics from Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, which it looks like that's important to know that if you're from Southern Illinois. And you have continued your expansive travels and your explorations through not only that local area regionally, but nationally and internationally in a big way. And you have participated in many, and been invited and awarded many artist residencies and opportunities to teach and lead and mentor and just all kinds of wonderful creative experiences. Sharing your dynamic work to enliven not just the people around the galleries, but everybody that participates. So if you know Cj or have experienced her work, you know that it goes beyond just the object into the greater realm of the betterment of the world in many ways. I don't know how to say that in a smaller sentence, I suppose. So you did complete your MFA at Utah State, and you still continued all your rich adventures in traveling, and the resources that you have built and explored have had no end to their scope. It's like you have this vision and you find a way to make it happen. And that is so exciting because we all benefit from that. And you have been a mentor and a model for all who've gotten to know you or be around your work. So thank you for that. So Cj has brought us into meeting 4 of these fabulous artists, and I'm gonna go down the row here. Bella Medina is our first artist here, and I'm gonna paraphrase briefly a little bit. Bella, you met Cj at Chaffey in 2022.
Yes.
And you were in a ceramics class with her.
Yes.
And you have been, you've been working with her throughout that, and then you asked about an internship or being an assistant with her. And you also stepped forward in expanding your experiences that way, so that's great. And then you got invited to work in this project. And currently you're currently you're studying at Cal State University San Bernardino. And you transferred from Chaffey, and you are working towards your bachelor's in visual arts.
Yes.
Congratulations. Yeah, great. Next we have Melissa Toscano. And Melissa also met Cj in a school experience about 2 years ago at Cal State University San Bernardino. And you were taking an intermediate ceramics class with her. And currently, now you are continuing to work on graduation. You're very close. And then you plan to go forward after your Bachelor's of Visual Arts is earned and awarded. You're going to continue with ceramics, painting, and to look for Well, your focus is in ceramics and painting, and you're going to continue on in education and looking at getting certifications and a master's degree. Congrats on that. Great, great vision. And Brissia. How are you, Brissia, Valle? And we have our graduate here sitting at the table with us. Brissia met Cj at Cal State San Bernardino as an undergraduate, and you had advanced ceramic studies with her. You also asked about a summer internship and then got invited into this wonderful experience. You graduated from Cal State San Bernardino with your bachelor's in visual arts, specializing in painting and ceramics, and you're currently a grad student at the School of Education at UC Riverside. And Brissia is working towards a master's of degree in education, in higher education and administration and policy. And you have a focus to address the educational inequities or inequalities for students of color in their experiences to access, support, and gain retention. Wonderful, and congrats on your degree. And at the far end of the table, we have Jocelyn Williams. And Jocelyn goes by she, her, hers, they, them, theirs. And she met Cj in the Advanced Ceramics Fall class in 2022 at Cal State San Bernardino. And you have been involved in the Ceramics Club, as well as doing independent studies. You've really asserted yourself in the arts and your own education. And you were invited to be considered for this project. Cj noticed you. And the idea of working in clay started maybe at Mount Sac, and you worked through that and then transferred to the university system, and that was in 2021. And now you have just completed your Bachelor of Fine Arts degree December 2023. So congratulations on that. Yeah. So that's a lot of intro, but I wanted to just give you that scope because the richness of the connection and the eagerness of independent assertion from these wonderful people have grown them to create a great experience for all of us. So with that in mind, let's give them all a hand, first of all. And I've done some intros here, but I thought what we would do now is have each person give an insight to the show from their point of view. And we'll start with Cj and go down the row. And then we'll also talk a little bit about the grant project, a few little more insights to the work. We will take a few questions, so if you have any questions as we go, hold on to them, and we'll open that up at the end. Okay? So Cj, do you want to give us a little insight into the overview of the project?
Okay, so the overview of the project. Well, I would say anybody who has known me long term knows that my artwork has always been based off of botanical forms. And I originally used to have my artwork speak about feminine sexuality and body positivity all through these botanical forms. And I was driving on a very long car ride on the day that Roe versus Wade was reversed. I had a very long time to think about. And I was so upset by the whole prospect of losing autonomy over women's bodies, everyone having their own choice, that I decided I needed to change my artwork and take a more political stance. And so that's where my gears were turning and where I wanted to go with the work. And so through that drive, I had already planned the first piece, and that's the piece right behind us, right behind this wall, body autonomy. And that piece was really speaking to, all these children that are going to be born that were not planned and possibly not wanted, and what is it going to take to sustain a life for them and really feed them and give them sustenance and create a positive life for them. And so that's what that work is really talking about. And I wanted to go from that piece and broaden the scope and really open it up. And so I'm really excited about this project because I not only got to open up the scope of those ideas, but I got to bring in 4 other generations to come in and share their voice and their thoughts and perspectives on their ideas and of similar topics and broader topics as well. So it's been an exciting project with lots of exciting moments and depressing moments as we research so many different topics. So hopefully this project can have some impact, and maybe we can, through community involvement and activism, make some positive movement forward. So
That's great, and I think that this is just the beginning of this wonderful discussion, and it is kind of a chat, a discussion, to think more, have a conversation about this. So you've opened that up for where this was born from, and if we go to Bella first, can you, each of you thinking about a little more insight to how your work evolved?
Yeah, so I feel like for my piece, it really was born through working on CJ's work and being inspired by that subject matter to like really find something that I wanted to talk about, something that was worth talking about and important to talk about. So I created a series of vases that depict kind of like a betrayal and the experience of that betrayal and the transformation that women can go through in that experience. It is definitely up to interpretation and a broad kind of idea and topic, but I think the message is the same of, you know, the experience of having something taken away from you. So yeah, it was definitely inspired by CJ and, you know, getting to create someone else's art with them and have that, you know, come to fruition was a really like selfless experience and awesome to like work with other artists as well. So yeah.
That's really wonderful. Let's just go hand it down the row here to get us kind of started in. And Bella was just speaking about her 3 beautiful vessel pieces that are on this wall in that room. Okay, Melissa. Thank you.
Hello. So overall, my inspiration for my pieces, when I first started as an artist, I really had no vision of where my art was going. I was kind of just like getting my toes in, trying to see like what I liked, what I didn't like. Originally, political art wasn't something that I was doing. It was something that I definitely started exploring once I started working with CJ. So originally my art was very objects that, you know, will make you laugh, will make you smile. And once I started working with CJ, that's when I started seeing like, you know, this world isn't really as, you know, idealistic as I want it to be. Unfortunately, like when I started working, I started seeing like, okay, there's all these issues that are going on in the world, and I started looking at more news, looking at more, really educating myself more into how all these things affect me. So I was overall very like, I live in California, Roe versus Wade doesn't affect me, you know, but looking into it, into like how everything is connected, you know, I feel like we really need to start even here in California, even though our government is very accepting. This is where we need to start changing perspectives in order to change the rest of our country.
Thank you, Melissa. And just to note that her pieces are in the corner of the far room, the oversized objects on the ground, and then the beautiful vessel by the window. Hey, Brissia.
Hi everyone. So my pieces are centered around the silencing of women's voices. Growing up, I played with paper dolls, and so that's when I overheard the dynamic between my parents of like, you know, gender roles, and so I wanted to explore that a bit further. And then also as a mother of daughters, I've known about the concept of femicide. And so that was like really concerning to be able to raise awareness of that and to be able to protect my daughters. And also as a mother of sons, to just how to go about conducting themselves and respecting women's rights as well.
Thank you so much. And hers are on this corner of that far room as well. And Jocelyn, you have the suspended pieces and the pieces by the window in the west.
Yes, so hi. My pieces, they're kind of
Well, my work is, I've been focusing a lot on like body positivity art and kind of like sex positivity art. So it's about opening up dialogue and discussion about like sexual relationships and sexual health, because I think it's important that we talk about it, because then more people feel comfortable talking about it, and then you actually are educated and know what's okay and what you like and don't like. And so, these issues have been important to me for a very long time. So I was very excited to join this project and to work outside of school on something with ceramics. And yeah, my pieces are kind of about how your perception of yourself as a woman and potentially as a queer individual too can be changed and intertwining with like the perception of the world of you. And I feel like my identity I became very anxious because of my identity blending with my realization of how dangerous it is in the world, and like emotionally and physically. And so that's kind of what my pieces are about, and about children kind of losing their innocence and their ability to express themselves and be themselves fully, and like these bright, beautiful creatures on earth, and then they just have to quiet themselves down to nothing to be able to please everyone. So yeah, that's what my work is about.
Really great. I just thought of something I want to ask. And when I spoke with these artists, I had the joy of meeting them a week or so ago, and you told me so much about the making of the piece and what you discovered as you built it. And can you speak, I know it's kind of just asking you off the spur of the moment, but can you talk a little bit more, like you told me, how the size of the objects, the color, the materials, how the process of working expanded your point of view? Did you have different awarenesses as you worked with the materials? And why are things important in the piece? Why are they the size, the color, the whatever they are?
Well, for my piece that's suspended, it's supposed to be immobile, and I really wanted it to look like it was funneling different stages of life going down. And so the first stage that's like big and bright and beautiful is supposed to be very young children that are maybe not super aware of or learning sort of consequences for acting like themselves. And then it funnels down into like more compressed shapes, and they become more damaged through that process until they become just a little white blank circle, because at the end of the day you have to choose between identifying as yourself or just being pleasing to everyone, I think. And I know it's like, I think that's something that everyone has to go through in different ways, but it's just, there's so much more pressure and fear, I think, for feminine people and for LGBT people. But yeah, and my bunny girl on her laptop, that was really fun to make, honestly. She was I was thinking about all of these different materials that I wanted to incorporate and really make it look like a bedroom. So I'm not at all interested in just staying in ceramics, but I do love clay.
So for me, growing up, I was a very anxious child, and so I typically decorated cakes with my mother, and so I wanted to incorporate cake decorating techniques with my work. And so the flowers were piped, and I wanted to use marigolds as kind of a reference to Day of the Dead, also like as an homage to these women who have passed on. And then with the paper dolls, I wanted to push a little bit further the domesticity of aprons, and so with connecting the aprons and cake decorating techniques, I felt like that would have kind of pushed my point of view a bit further.
So I have two different pieces. My first one is the vessel. It's called According to You, I'm Just a Vessel. That one, it encourages a conversation about women's reproductive rights. Ever since Roe versus Wade got overturned in 2022, more than 20 states have taken away the rights for women to have that choice. So there are some chains. It is in I don't want to give it all away, but it is in the shape of of the woman's reproductive system. And the chains are very delicate, and that's essentially is like the very delicate nature that we're dealing with and how we are working on this. And then for the other piece, it's called According to You, it's called Do You Feel Safe Yet? So that piece relies on women's safety, and it is made 10 times bigger than your normal safety keychain. So for this piece, what I wanted to encompass was how big does my safety keychain have to be in order to feel safe to walk at night. So this piece originally came to be of me thinking, I'm gonna be taking this class late at night, like what do I need to get to make it to my car safe at like 10 at night? Do I need to buy the safety keychain? Do I need a tase? Do I need some mace? So how big does this need to be in order for me to feel safe? And the color being a bright pink color, a lot of times these keychains are sold as as accessories, like to make your keychain look cute. But unfortunately, a lot of times they're made out of cheap material, and since they're just sold, the person wielding them normally doesn't have a lot of, they don't have a lot of training in it, so there's a lot of, they often end up hurting themselves in the process of trying to save themselves from whatever's trying to hurt them.
I feel like for my piece, I was kind of learning as I was making. I was trying to teach myself how to throw really big vases. I was like, oh, I want to make a big vase. I was like, I don't know how to throw big vases. So I had to learn that and then paint them. But I have two separate materials used in my work. I have porcelain for the first vase, and the others are just more stoneware, yeah. And the porcelain I use to kind of represent the purity of women viewed before like a sexual experience or, before being damaged by the chronicle of the story. So, yeah.
So about the last year of your work, any new awarenesses about things you need to know?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of layers in there. You can go to my website and read a full, long story about each and every one of those works if you really want to know all the thoughts in depth. But with most of that work, I am trying to address specific ideas. So we already talked about the piece on the table, speaking to abortion. The second piece, which is the one on the wall, the siphoning away of the rights for women and LGBTQ plus communities. Those flowers across the top are supposed to represent people of different communities, while the strata that's inside the frame that's being siphoned away is the rights that they're losing, be it to healthcare, education, safety, adoption. There's just so many things that are being siphoned away right now. And if you look at the gloves under the valves, that will give you an indication of who I see siphoning those rights away. So just a little thing to investigate. So, and then my last piece, that's my newest piece, and that one is about global warfare. We're currently seeing it in the news with the Palestinian and Israeli conflict, but that is one of many, many conflicts that begins quite typically with the raping and traumatizing of women. And so we see it again and again. We see it in Africa, in the Sudan, the Congo, Haiti, Ukraine. So, and these are just ones that have been happening in the last 2 years. And this dates back so far. So the last piece, another happy piece, is about that warfare. And you'll notice that, if you've known my work, it's always been these bright, beautiful plants. But I've been having a lot of fun creating decay and demise within the plant sources.
Well, we all, I think, would agree that these are not easy topics to just think about and move on or describe. And each one of you has given us great description, not only about the topics, but your own work. As an artist, just talking about your own work is difficult, and putting the poetry into some communicable verbalization. You did a great job with that. And we know that this work is alive and well in these spaces right now, and it will have resonance for years to come, and it marks a moment in our time. And I think that's what's really powerful in what you all have dedicated your work to see that it's an insight from individuals experiencing the world and the culture and the community right now from your point of view, and so sincerely and so beautifully. And with great craft and skill. When I say craft, I think of that like the most extraordinary, application with materials and expressing yourself. So this all came to be under an umbrella of a grant that, again, as I mentioned, CJ is great at creating things and arenas and forums and all these things where this can happen, this synergy. So can you tell us a little bit about how this came to be and the grant?
Yeah, it was really interesting that I had been offered a show at the American Museum of Ceramic Art, and I was starting to prepare for that show, knowing that I was going to make the first piece that we see in the room there. And at the same time that I'm gearing up to start that piece, I have all these wonderful people coming to me saying, hey, I'd really love to work with you. And I thought, gosh, that'd be great. It'd be even better if I could pay them. So I started applying for grants, and I reached out to the one that we received, which was from the Creative Corps Inland SoCal, which is many, many layers deep, but it's funded by the California Arts Council. And they were looking for people. They wanted to put artists back to work in the community, but they wanted to give these grants to artists that were going to have work that is about social justice, the environment, civic change, health, and people's experience post the pandemic. And I just thought, well, that's a perfect fit. So I applied for the grant, and I love the fact that not only was I able to, create my own work, but I was also able to mentor 4 wonderful new artists and pay them for their help. So these wonderful artists have helped create all of the pups on the table for my plant that's giving birth in there. They are the pup makers and the killer of some pups. So it's been wonderful to receive this grant and be able to share that experience, and in many ways, right? Everything from how to set up a studio and keep all of that going to how to look at the world and digest it and process it and put it back out there. And in addition to all of that, we also are working with different community organizations. So today, if you happen to buy a tote bag or stickers off of the merch table, any proceeds from that are going to be donated to Planned Parenthood. We are also working with a couple other organizations. So we're with Foothill Family Shelters, and we have another event in June where we were going to do a food drive, and also donations from that event will go to that organization. And we're also working with several Pride organizations as well. So my goal for this show, this is edition number 2, but I'm going to strive to keep the show going, and each time I have the show, new artists will be invited to show with me, and I will bring in new perspectives and new voices from hopefully many different communities, and we'll keep growing our social communication with different organizations and building different voices and hopefully making a little bit of change.
Dynamic, and of course embedded in our own community that we get to all partake with as well. So for each of you, we've heard a little bit of that overview and the grant writing and the structure. Wow, so glad. It's a lot of work, we know that. Now all 4 of you have had, as you said, a year's long worth of experience working together, collaborating together, having discoveries, having, the ups and downs of what am I doing, and, the challenges of deadlines, and you're an artist yourself evolving. So can you speak a little bit about how this whole year-long experience, what's brought you, something new you found out, what you take forward?
Yeah, I feel like it was definitely a unique experience and longer than a lot of artists like internships and whatnot, but it was really nice to get so close with everybody and learn from everybody's individual processes and how they make art and how they see art and how you come up with a concept and something you're proud of and is important to you. It's like a very intimate experience, but like I said before too, and just making someone else's art with them. It helped me, myself, like understand what art means to me and what it means to be able to make it and to learn. So just like diving deeper into my connection with art making, connection with ceramics, and really, getting to spend time with amazing artists. Yeah.
So for me, my main takeaway was being able to develop these relationships. So I knew CJ from school, but the rest of these artists, I'd had them in some of my classes, but I've been able to like develop a really close relationship with them. And I was also able to improve my building skills. I think overall, I learned during this summer and this one-year internship more than I have ever learned in any of my other ceramic classes that I've taken. So in just one summer, I was able to like step up my game by a lot.
So for me, the biggest takeaway is getting to know everybody and just getting to know their experiences and just kind of identifying that even though we come from different backgrounds, our experiences as women intersect. And so it just goes to show how this work is very important and just kind of a motivation to continue pushing forward to explore more concepts.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar to that I think the intersectionality between all of us is so interesting and it's really valuable. And I think I've also really just valued the relationships I've gained from this, as well as the practical skills. And I think for me, it's very important in the arts to have a community and to have people that you teach and people that you learn from. And being a mentor is so valuable, and being menteed is so valuable. And I love all sorts of mediums, but I especially love ceramics because it has always been super positive and welcoming, and everyone's just sharing everything. And I really think that's what art is at its finest, is just sharing ideas and enabling people to share their own voices to the best of their ability. Because I can't share what these people had to say as best as they can individually. So it's just really awesome to have the opportunity at all to do something like this, and I think that's what's important in my future going forward when I come time to mentor people myself. So yeah.
Each of you said some really wonderful moments about how you learned from each other, but you all had this kind of synergy that pushed you forward as well, and that just that leaks out to all of us, right? So I do want to ask another question about, is there something particularly that has grown in you as an artist that you're taking forward from this experience? Do you have a vision of where you're headed with what's next? Is it clear? Is it unclear? And then is there anything else you want us to know?
I was gonna say too, I feel like this experience really helped me to find confidence in art making and showing your art and my ability to actually pull it off. So definitely taking that. I think too, as far as now, I'm looking forward to just furthering my making and what I like to make, making things that are new and that inspire me, and further understanding my message as an artist and my vibe,
I think overall with this experience, it has helped me figure out that this is what I want to keep on doing. So over the summer, with the money that I made with the internship with CJ, I was able to pay for 2 semesters for tuition at Cal State San Bernardino. So this was the first time I was able to make money with something that I love. So this is actually what started pushing me into teaching art. I've always wanted to be a teacher, but now it's art is something that I want to keep doing, something that I want to keep exploring, So I plan to become an art teacher and give that same experience to other students.
So for me, I think the whole concept of like silencing women's voices is very important, and so just kind of advocating for that and well to repress that, and also just building my home studio and looking towards more concepts of like social political aspects, and then also thinking about like women who are no longer with us and just kind of like honoring them and remembering them in whatever capacity that may be.
I feel like my ideas with art change every day, and I feel kind of weird for not being like consistent with it, because I just love, I don't know, there's so many things about the world that I want to explore. And for right now, I'm a lab technician at Riverside City College, and I'm really, really enjoying that because it's like I get to kind of teach and help students there in a way that professors, they might not be comfortable with talking to professors about. And I don't have to deal with the curriculum, so that's great. But it's just really nice being in, I just, like, whatever I can do in my life to continue being in community with play is my priority. So, yeah.
Well, those are really powerful visions and statement. Let's bring that back around to CJ. And so, the investment, I mean, this is an accelerated garden here, right? It's like, I know it's been a year for you guys, right? And it's been more than a year for you. But often when we see shows, we see the residual of an event. And artwork is about the experience of the artist making or putting things together, and you get a record of that, and then and then we move on. This is that, and it's like the history of what came before, what's in there now, and you just showed us that there's so much more coming, and the repercussions, the rings of waves that come out from this. So with that in mind, CJ, do you have anything else you want us to hear from you about this whole thing?
Well, first off, I want to say thank you to you guys. It's been a wonderful experience for myself as well, although I have to say my studio is very lonely to work in without you guys. I got so used to you guys being there. It's like, oh, where is everybody? I don't know. I just don't know. Like, for me, this is not an ending. Like, this is just an exhibition of something that I want to keep rolling. One other thing that I like about this exhibition with my work, the environment is also very important to me, and I love that you can go in and view my portion of the exhibition and take an environmental aspect away from it as well as the social aspect. So yeah, I'll just be moving forward and mentoring more students along the way.
Right, I loved hearing that it's continuing. I didn't know that part of it. And the idea of the challenges, the deep challenges that you've all faced there's like books behind that, I'm sure, as well. As well as the glorious celebrations, right?
Yes, glorious celebrations. And, if anyone wants to be active, the way to do this is to get out there and start voting, right? So donating to these causes is great. If you're not registered to vote, I have voter registration cards here. We can get you registered. Planned Parenthood, the League of Women Voters all have people listed on their websites of who they support, so you can figure out, what action you want to take and who you might want to vote for. Even starting at a local level, it's so important.
It's great messages all over the place, and a call to arms, so to speak, call to action. Ooh, let's put it that way. Consistency, wow, all over the place. I want to say that we do have some minutes here to open up for a few questions that, if you have a question, if you can form it in a way that all the panelists can answer. We'll take one or two questions.
I'm just wondering what your biggest challenge was that you never even imagined would be a challenge, and how did you gain the courage or the grit to resolve it?
That's a great question. Wants to start? Or
I think my greatest challenge was the grant application. It was such a lucky moment. I was applying for a different grant, and and we weren't gonna meet the guidelines, because most of our work was gonna happen in the summer, and it was a grant through Cal State San Bernardino, and because it was summer happenings, they wanted all the work to happen during the school year, so we were left out of that grant, and then this one fell in my lap. But I had 4 days to write the entire grant application, find partnerships, find an exhibition space here at the museum, and get everybody signed up. So these guys were put on notice we were at another event, and I have them signing paperwork for this grant, because we needed to make this happen. So that was my biggest challenge.
I feel like my biggest challenge was I tried to figure out how I wanted to, like what I wanted to say. Like Melissa was saying, like my art wasn't based in activism when I started making art. So just like, that feels like a big responsibility, and I was like, what am I gonna do? So coming up with that concept, and then the technical stuff after, like, is it gonna show up after I take it out of the kiln, and but it worked out, so.
For me, my biggest challenge was coming up with the concept. So since initially my art wasn't about activism, it wasn't political, I was like, what does affect it? Like, I don't know, I think my life's pretty good. Do I really have anything to share? Especially with the ideas that I was hearing from CJ and from the rest of the group, I was like, I think my life's pretty okay. And then just like, the ideas just started coming up as I was, going day to day, as I was driving home. And I started like thinking about like walking home. I was like, oh, hey, that falls exactly how it's supposed to, like where it's supposed to be. So the ideas just started coming in one by one. But overall, just the main concept of what I wanted to make and what I wanted to represent was the most difficult part for me.
For me, it was also the concept. I know I wanted to make social political art, but I didn't know like how far to push it. And so when I thought about the topic of femicide, I'm like, maybe it's too like far out there, and I wanted to be mindful of like my peers and making sure they were comfortable. But when I talked to CJ about it, she was like, no, go for it. So that kind of like put me at ease and helped me create my piece.
For me, I think my biggest challenge was I really enjoy making like playful shapes and artwork that's like, it can be like a little funny and playful. And I was like, okay, this is a very serious topic and it's important to me too. And so how do I represent it, but also like create an art piece that I feel is like my own art piece and it's something that I love. And so I just feel like I kind of dealt with that, and I flopped between like so many ideas. And I kind of felt like I dealt with it by sort of capturing like the loss of playfulness, or like, I think it's okay to have playful aspects to a piece that has a serious undertone to it, or like, oh, it's really bright and bubbly up here and look how it changes. So yeah, I think I feel like it was kind of scary to do that because I didn't want to make it seem like I wasn't taking it seriously. But it was important to make the art feel like my own too. So yeah.
Those are big challenges to step through, and that was a great question, Mary. Thank you. One more question. We have time.
I don't have a question, but I've just been listening to you, and I'm reminded of Woman House from 1970. And hi, I'm Wendy Slatkin, by the way, an art historian. But I'm reminded so much of Woman House and the spirit of it, and the activism, and the camaraderie, and the teamwork. So I always like to throw in a little bit of art history when I can, just to give you some resonance. And so that's something, it's very well, if you're not familiar with it, it might be fun for you to read about it. It's very well documented. And Judy Chicago and Miriam Shapiro, and they worked with their younger colleagues, and they made something amazing that really started the feminist art movement on the West Coast. So you're in very good company there. So I did want to say that, and also very good company in terms of the importance of ceramics and the medium for this Pomona Valley region and Southern California too, and that's also been very well documented through a lot of the publications of AMOCA. and they just had a big show on women's ceramics in California. Big, interesting exhibition catalog. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of context. I hope that's okay.
Oh my goodness, I think we all like that.
I slipped in at the back, so I...
We all benefit from all of that, that's so great. And it is very important. I mean, I feel like I stand in great voices and a great community to see where things can still be very active and important in the art world.
And based on precedents that have been successful and
Having that background of what came before, but also the sincerity of just being open, opening up your heart to find like, what am I gonna do? You know, that whole thing, and just being open to it and taking it on and having, you know, good leadership. It's just amazing to me how this has gone. Is there anything else we want to say before I wrap this up a little bit? Okay, so you know we're here, and the artists are going to be remaining in the studios, the gallery spaces, excuse me, and I welcome you to ask those questions that you're thinking of for individual artists, and speak with them directly. You will be better for it. I know you're better already, but it's like, it's just a really wonderful thing. I'm honored to know you and be in the presence of all of you today. This is where life is, you know? We make work, we're creative, we share, and we grow. So thank you to all of these fabulous artists. Congratulations.